Stroke deep center field. Torres chasing and is gone, and the party is on in the Hub City. And he launches this one into the trays. Goodbye. And add to it. Straight to the roost. And whoever operates the horn has been standing on it.
Hey, Golden Eagle fans, I'm Southern Miss Stadium announcer Jackson Walker, and you're listening to Nasty Bunch and Beyond.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome in to another episode of Nasty Bunch and Beyond. I'm your host, Dalton Trigg. Today, I'm rejoined by a special guest, return guest. You all know him as Southern Miss sideline reporter. He does great work for ESPN Plus on the broadcast for Southern Miss games. It's Jason Baker. Jason, how you doing today, man?
I'm good, Dalton. How about you, my man?
I'm making it. I'm not going to say I'm doing too great, given how the weekend.
Fair enough.
But we made it through it. I mean, the sun still rose, and
that's right.
Now we're on to other things. But I'm not going to lie, it hurts a little bit seeing what could have been, with now you have a super regional going on with Troy and Little Rock. And it's like, man, if things could have just kind of rolled a different way, could have had supers in Hattiesburg. But
yeah, for sure. But that's sometimes it's just how this ball bounces sometimes.
That's how it goes. So I guess we'll start there. We'll recap what happened over the weekend, Hattiesburg Regional. It kind of, we talked about it, or I talked about it several times going into the weekend. Getting off to that fast start is always very important. You win that first game, especially you win the first two games, that really puts you in the driver's seat. It can dictate what you do, which we saw several teams make their way out of the losing bracket this weekend in different regionals, come back and win it. But it puts you in a better spot if you can win that first game. And, the Golden Eagles were 3 outs away from that being the case in that Friday night game or Friday midday game against Little Rock, up 4-3. You're 3 outs away from, getting that first big win, and then things just kind of fall apart there in the top of the ninth. And just kind of one of those things where it's like, it's probably a hard decision to make. You got your guy in there, Colby Allen, which I think he was up around like maybe the mid 40s, maybe 50s at that point. But still, you're 3 outs away and you're thinking, man, this is our guy. We're going to do it. And it just didn't work out that way. And that's baseball sometimes. So what were your initial thoughts after that first game and how it played out? Like, I'm sure you're probably thinking like me, like, this isn't ideal, but surely, we can battle back out of that.
Yeah, for sure. The loss wasn't ideal. Obviously, if, I think the odds, and I think I saw an ESPN graphic over the weekend about this, like the people who win the first game, percentages of winning the regionals are exponentially higher than the teams that are going to come through the losers bracket. But I wasn't like overly concerned necessarily, just because I felt like we had the most pitching available to be able to use to get through the losers bracket. So like I wasn't just, oh my gosh, this is impossible. Now I will tell you, it was a deflating loss. I mean, it was a hard loss in the fact that, like, there's no one else on this team. Let's don't kid ourselves, right? There's no one else on this team in the ninth inning that we would want more with the baseball than Colby Allen. I mean, there's people that we trust in those scenarios, but you can't leave that part thinking, oh man, we should have done this. I mean, that's just hindsight's 2020. Like, 40 minutes prior, you would have been praying for Colby Allen to be on the bump in the ninth inning. So I've seen kind of maybe some of that talk and jargon. And I think it's fair to look back and say, well, what if, and maybe this, but in the heat of the moment, like, you don't get that luxury, right? Like when the live bullets are happening and I mean, I even said it on the radio broadcast, like, even despite the loss, like there was no one else on that mound that Christian Ostrander wanted more than Colby Allen in that situation. And I still firmly believe that, even knowing the results of the regional now, and I think there's conversations for other days if you want to talk about fatigue and what we accomplished in Montgomery and then how that translates into regional. That's a whole conversation, right? But in lieu of that, like, I mean, that's our guy. I mean, that's the dude that you trust, and he's given zero reason in his course of his career to think he couldn't do that. I mean, he just did it on Sunday against Troy in that semifinal matchup, right? I mean, he struggled in the 8th inning, found it, got himself out of it, went back out for the 9th and slammed the door and got us into the championship clean. So, it was just one of those moments, man. And look, I thought Little Rock, I think at some point we got to show the opponent, some kudos and some credit too, man. That was a good hitting ball club. I mean, top to bottom, 1 through 9. I thought their lineup, outside of my love for our Golden Eagle lineup and our guys that I cover daily, I thought their lineup was the best in our regional. And so they were good, and they were good in that moment. And Colby's been so good that it was just such an outlier that happened. And yeah, it was just kind of stunning, but not like overly shocked that something like that happened.
I'm glad you mentioned that about, Little Rock's hitting, because Friday when that game happened, you had more of that hindsight 2020 mentality. I saw several people talking about it and what if we did this, what if we did that. As the weekend progressed, it became pretty clear, like, okay, maybe Little Rock shouldn't have been a 4 seed.
Right. Sure. Yeah. No.
They were
I think our
solid.
regional was tough. Like I don't think we need to discredit our opponents that got put into Hattiesburg. Now, did I think we were the favorites? Sure, absolutely. And do I think we were the best team, top to bottom, in the regional? Sure. I still believe that to this day. That 2 losses doesn't make you not who you are over the course of the season. And so, but we did have a tough regional. I mean, I will tell you, and I think I've talked about it on several ESPN Plus broadcasts there towards the last 30 to 45 days of the season. Jacksonville State was a quality team. I couldn't believe why they weren't getting ranked, maybe even higher than what they were. I think they finally cracked the top 25 with about 2 weeks to go, and I thought they deserved to be higher. So, that was a tough 3 seed to be placed into our regional. And then you had a Virginia team. I mean, you're talking about a program that's won a national title before, that's won several regionals, several supers, and so a storied program. And then you had this Little Rock bunch that was going to be put as a 4 seed again. And they were a team that stared Outbox Stadium down a year ago in the semifinals and beat LSU and found themselves on a Monday championship against the eventual national champion. So you're putting a team that had regional experience that also got bounced out of a regional a year ago, that was probably still upset that they didn't beat the eventual national champion. So you felt like they'd come in motivated. And, as we record this interview, as all the regionals are done, we now know that holds true, right? Like they were good enough to win this regional. So I think it's important to remember some of those factors in this regional.
Yeah, it was crazy to me to see Jacksonville State ranked in the top 25 there at the very end of the season, and yet they're a 3 seed.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when
regional.
you consider too, now, granted, their athletic director was on the committee as well with Jeremy. Now,
Right.
neither guy is able to stay in the room when discussing their team. So like you can't think, oh, like Jeremy was this big factor to Southern Miss not having good teams in there, because you don't get the luxury of being in there when they're discussing your team, right? And so he admitted to me this weekend that both he and the athletic director from Jacksonville State were both a little shocked that they would be staring each other down in the same regional. And so that was, a little bit alarming. But, at the end of the day, and I told this to someone, I think maybe Saturday or Saturday night, like, Man, at the end of the day, it's 64 really quality teams, and you got to find a way to beat a lot of them in order to get yourself to Omaha and to get yourself to where. I mean, this program, isn't. It's not just about getting back to Omaha. Like this team talks about their goals being to go to Omaha and win, and so you're in order to do that, you're going to play teams that are really, really good, and so you don't get into this tournament if you're not talented and unless you're just a Cinderella story. And a lot of the times those teams are kind of the scariest. So Little Rock was, a couple losses away in there, or one loss away from probably not making this, and here they are now in a super regional getting ready to take on Troy. So
I
yeah,
think
there's a lot of factors.
I think you could say the same thing for Troy too. I feel like if they don't beat us that one time in the Sun Belt tournament, I feel like that win for them was what kind of pushed them over, to get them in as one of the last four teams. So
Yeah, I agree. And now what they're proving too is, Troy's proving, well, you gave us this moment, we're going to take full advantage of it, and that's to their credit, man. That's a veteran team that yeah, that's playing good baseball right now. So I'm really confident. I personally thought Florida was very overrated, and so I was really excited for our super regional, what could have possibly been matchup against Southern Miss in Florida. And they did not alarm me. They didn't scare me. They didn't make me think, oh, this is insurmountable or anything like that. So that proved to be true as well.
well, Coach Oz has said it several times before. It's like you can do everything right, and then things still might not go your way. That's just baseball. You need a little bit of luck to be on your side to get over that hump and make it. Especially to Omaha. Like that's something this fan base is kind of starving for at this point. They want it. I
Sure.
mean, the program success, there's no denying it. I mean, the tradition of excellence is a very real thing. A decade's worth of 40 plus wins, three out of the last four Sun Belt tournament championships, got the first outright, regular season championship in Sun Belt this year. So I mean, what really has to happen in your mind that hasn't happened so far to get over that hump, or is that just it? Is that just hoping you get a little bit of luck on your side?
Well, I think it's a little. I think it's a little more than luck. I think what it is you got to have some help, on your side. You got to find yourself where maybe you've got a certain regional draw that's favorable. Everyone is so quick to point out that, like, well, we've had these moments and we failed. Well, like, have we failed? Like, I don't look at it as a failure. Like, we just didn't get the job done this time. And like this regional in particular, right? Every single break that could go against us went against us. No, I'll point to the Seth Smith injury, right? So like Seth gets hurt running the bases on what would be a surefire run, and if I recall correctly, I don't think we got the run in, and so like he's gonna score in that situation, and then he gets hurt. Well, like we haven't dealt with anything like that all season long. Barrett got hurt there for a little bit with a tweaked hammy, but it was nothing to this extent, like nothing to where like the injury caused an issue. And then thank goodness, we didn't have Ty Long in the lineup that day so that we could bring Ty Long in, because we would have killed the DH had it been the normal um, lineup, if you will. And so we would have had to kill that DH, and Ty would have had to go, and we'd have been watching pitchers hit. So for us, like, you know, it takes a little bit of like good fortune is how I would call it. And then you got to have some balls go your way. I mean, look, man, like I'm not here to critique the umpire, but like he gets hit with a baseball. In my opinion, he was too too far into fair territory at that point. He's probably there.
I
If I
remember
remember
that.
right, I think a runner's on, and so like he's there, like watching check swings, but also there because there's runners on base, and so he's got to position himself there. But they're taught the moment the ball's hit to get in foul territory so that they're not in the field of play. And then that ball was hit 109 off the barrel, and he had no time to react, and it hits his foot, and it could have caromed a lot of places. It could have caromed over there towards the gate by the bullpen seats, and Joey still probably ends up with a double. It could have caromed and still kept going down the left field line, and Joey ends up with a double. It could have scooted out towards left field. He probably still ends up with a double, but no, what does it do? It caromed off his foot right towards the shortstop, ends up as a single. And I know in that inning, I don't think we wound up scoring the run. And so, like, those are just weird baseball breaks. And, I think for the most part, we avoided a lot of that through this season. We didn't have necessarily bad breaks necessarily when we lost games. And so, those contributing factors is why this team didn't get out of this regional. And then like we just didn't play particularly high level Golden Eagle baseball. I mean, we hit the ball at certain times of this regional, but then we didn't pitch it well, or we pitched it well. I mean, I think I heard recently, I didn't realize this, but we struck out 18 Virginia batters Saturday. So, like, I mean, we were throwing some stuff up there they couldn't touch, but then yet they ended up with 18 hits. So that's sort of one of those freak kind of games where, like, holy smokes, like, how did we end up losing that game? Or how did we even end up being, you could also make the argument, how did we even end up being in the game giving up 18 hits, right? So there's a lot that we can dissect afterwards, but at the end of the day, this team just didn't get it done in this regional, and that just kind of happens sometimes. And what's going to take us to get over the hump is just playing better baseball in those moments. But, like, I go back to the year against Ole Miss. Like, Ole Miss was the last team put into the regional tournament that year. They get down to Miami against a team they had no business beating. They get hot. They beat Miami. They come into here in the super regional, and they would have beat the Dodgers that weekend. It didn't have anything to do with the Golden Eagles as much as it had to do, and it pains me to say this, it had everything to do with how well Ole Miss played. And so, like, that one's not on us. Like, they go on to win the national title that year. Like, and so sometimes it's just the timing and the sequence of where you are in your season and the level of baseball that you're playing. I thought we won the Sun Belt tournament. I didn't think we particularly played great in the Sun Belt tournament, but I thought we showed moxie and grit and desire that this team went over there to win a championship. I think their mindset was, if we win, with that said, right? Like, from that standpoint, that's what you kind of hope to catch, is a team that maybe gets over there and wins a championship, catches lightning in a bottle, and gets it over to a regional. Well, this team just decided, hey, we want to win this championship so that we can lock up hosting. And we did that without playing our best baseball. And so maybe with that being said, you shouldn't be as shocked that this team didn't play great baseball in the regional. I thought we played okay. I didn't think we played bad baseball. We didn't kick it around. We didn't make a bunch of mental errors. We didn't make, a bunch of physical errors in the field either. We just lost 2 games, man.
Yeah. Did we play our best baseball? No. Did we play well enough to win at the end and it just didn't happen? Yes, I think that's a fair statement to make, because
I would agree with that.
You mentioned that Virginia game that was probably a candidate for game of the year if you're into offense. Like, it's just a barn burner. Ended up being 15-11, but you want to talk about baseball being a brutal game and just, snatching your heart out of your chest. I believe it was the top of the 10th inning when, Coach Oz, he decided to bring in Camden Sundstrom. So at that point, things are serious. Like, it's because he would have, ideally, you'd like to have him for the next day if you advance.
That's right.
But they bring him in there. He's in a bases loaded jam. I believe it was a 5-2-3 double play where got the force out at home and then threw it to first to get it, was because it was bases loaded with no outs. And then when that double play happens, you're thinking, okay, we can breathe a little bit. Feels like momentum is on our side again. He's 2 strikes away from getting out of it. And then Virginia hits the perfect ball directly up the middle in between Kyle and Seth, I believe, and just where neither one of them could get to it. Just the absolute perfect placement. And, that kind of, shifted the momentum back to Virginia. But it's just I look at stuff like that and I just think like, man, that's just one of those situations where fortune just wasn't on your side. And I don't know what more, could have been done except for just kind of hoping that, if they hit a ball there, it goes to somebody and not in the perfect spot down the middle.
Yeah, and
That
I
ends up
think
scoring a run.
to your point, Dalton, too, I think that was if I remember, I think I said this on the radio, that I think that was the third run or maybe the third run of the regional that had been produced by a ball that was not hit over 70 miles an hour. And so, like, it's not like we were having doubles ripped off the wall. Now, we gave up some big hits and extra base hits and homers, but it's not like some of these runs, and especially the run that you're speaking of there off Sunny, like, I mean, it was a slow comebacker that was perfectly hit back up the middle that just got out of the reach of Long. At that point, it's Long and Morrison, and so yeah, like and sometimes those things just happen, and I think about the ball that was hit. Russo's holding a runner on, and I guess it was in the Virginia game. I'm pretty sure if I recall right, it's hit right over his head, and like Russo makes that catch 9 out of 10 times if he's in a normal position, but he's holding a runner on, and so it gets hit off the handle, and it's hit. I think I remember seeing it on the track, man. It was hit like 47 miles per hour, but it was hit just deep enough to be able to land where Russo couldn't get it. And if I'm not mistaken, that produced maybe one or two runs. And so it's little things like that. It just didn't go our way. It just wasn't our weekend. It stinks. It hurts. It doesn't make it hurt any less. Matter of fact, probably knowing what you know now, it makes it hurt a little bit more. But that's just life, and that's how sports and athletics. And I tweeted at somebody the other night that said it, like, one team was only going to win their final game. The other 63 teams in that tournament are taking an L for their final game. We just happened to take our two L's, very early in the process. And, certainly that's upsetting, but it's just part of it.
Well, and as much as it hurts for the fan base, I can guarantee you that it hurts 10 times more, if not more than that, for the guys that are out there doing it, the coaching staff, all the people that are out there doing the stuff. I mean, it hurts a lot more for them, and it makes me, feel a certain way seeing guys like Matthew Russo and his post game interview. You can see the emotion on his face and just kind of trying to come to grips with, like, this was it. And I guess we'll kind of roll into that now. I mean, this senior class that was so special and has given so much to this program over the last several years. I mean, how hard is that going to be for this team which obviously the way the program is, everybody steps up. I mean, there's always going to be a new group that steps in and does a great job, but at the positions that this senior class is, replacing, how tough is that going to be for this program going forward?
Yeah, I look at it more like it's going to be more difficult. Not that they're not phenomenal players, because they are physically, but I actually look at this as a much greater, like, leadership group that we're going to have to replace. I mean, Colby Cross are both guys that have pitched top 5 appearances in this history of the program. And you don't get that moniker without being mentally tough and physically tough, for that matter, but certainly mentally tough. And then Russo's leadership and his moments, I mean, his ability to slow the game down late in innings is massive. I mean, 6 walk-offs, maybe 6 walk-offs in his career, 4 this year, I think is the count now, or maybe 5 this year, and then 7. I've kind of lost track of how many total in his career, but I mean, you're talking about an all-timer. It's a ton. I mean, you're talking about a dude that's, Coxie called him the other day on the radio. He's going to be a surefire Hall of Famer at Southern Miss. I said, absolutely. And if he's not, we should stop and recount the ballots and make sure the people are voting are very aware. Like, he's definitely going to be that. And so, yeah. And then, I mean, there's other pieces like, look, man, I think J.W. Armistead's one of the more valuable arms on this team that this team's going to lose, just because baseball's turned so situational late in the games where you're using these arms to match up or to induce a ground ball for a specific purpose. And yeah, so some of the other seniors, Urban, Higdon, those guys, big hit after big hit. I mean, Higdon was our hottest hitter in the last 10 games. Urban was right up there too. And I mean, really, the scorching start Urban got off to this season propelled this team to where it ended up being, just off the year that he had early on in the season. And so then Kyle Morrison was a 1 year fit, and those are not easy to find, and to be able to find one and stick him in this lineup. And I mean, I think he played every single game. Never came out of the order, never came out of the lineup, and so those moments and pieces are special. And so yeah, this senior class as a whole, and I'm sure I'm leaving one or two off, but those pieces are the ones that they're going to be difficult, but maybe not so much in the world of the portal, like physically. I'm so much more concerned about it, from the leadership qualities that they brought us.
Yeah, definitely going to have some guys step up. It's going to be a big upcoming year for Davis Gillespie. I think he's going to end up being one of the main guys that assumes that role, that leadership role for next year. We'll see how it goes. But I mean, as far as just from a talent perspective, though, it's looking pretty good for the Eags next year, because obviously you're losing some guys, but I've been on record saying for the last couple months, maybe a little bit longer, I feel like this is one of the best high school classes coming in that we've ever had. And we've had some good ones. We've had some real good ones over the years. But, you just go down the list. You got Logan Buckley coming in, Henry Apt, Trey Barnes from Petal, who I think is going to be a guy, could probably – I mean, we'll see how it goes, but I could definitely see him end up, playing from day one. Another local kid, Bankston Walters from PCS. Several different guys that are coming in this class. I think 7 of the 12 Dandy Dozen players are in this 2026 class for the Eagles. So, you got some young talent coming in here. I think you've got some more, dare I say, speed and athleticism coming in. So, you could potentially kind of change the way you play offense based on how these last couple of years have gone. But it's looking up for the Golden Eagles. And then obviously you got the transfer portal where you can plug in a guy like they did with Kyle Morrison this last year. We'll have to wait and see how that progresses. The portal just opened this week. So, we'll see how that goes. But overall, I mean, how are you feeling about this team going into next year?
Yeah, good. I think we're going to return maybe the most in the Christian Ostrander era that we have returned. I mean, in 22, we took the big loss when Waldrop decided to get into the portal, or else you probably could talk about that team. But I mean, that team got gutted by the draft. And so lucky for us, our weekend rotation is at least intact, not draft eligible. So, outside of one of them getting in the portal or something, then Graydon Harris, Camden Clark, Camden Sundstrom should return. And then you've got a Thomas Crabtree on the back end that pitched a lot of innings. Josh Ock is back for a lot of innings as well, I believe, for this ball club. And so you've got 2 pieces there that have pitched a lot. And then the freshman arms, you had some redshirted arms in Logan Pratt, T. Broadhead that really came on late. And then the true freshman ones, Sam Mitchell, KL Farr, Bruce Littleton, those guys, they've got Dylan Causey. They've got a real chance to be major factors and contributors into the roles that they fall into for next year. Some will be starters, some will be high leverage, short, long relief type guys. And so I'm super excited. And then this high school class, I don't follow recruiting maybe even as much as you. I meet the recruits when they come on visits vaguely sometimes, but so I'm aware of some of them. Obviously, I know Bankston, but the rest of them, I'm very aware of who they are and what they can become. And I don't know enough to know their attributes or what they'll bring, but I think this coaching staff certainly is excited to see what this incoming class can mesh and mold into. And then I do look for us to add some pieces in the portal. Christian Ostrander's sort of got a formula that he likes to follow, and I think he's going to stick with that plan, and we'll see how it works out.
Well, it obviously works out pretty good for him, whatever formula he follows. Because like a guy like Ben Higdon, for example, like
Sure.
he was only here 2 years, but it just feels like he's always been a Southern Miss guy, and that just goes to show how, just the character, not just the talent, but the character too, coming to Southern Miss, fully buying in, being the leader that he was. That just makes such a big difference. So whatever Coach Oz is doing, he just stick with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's working. And I mean, that's been built from years even ahead of Oz. And so Oz is just continuing this tradition of excellence, as you said early and earlier on in this podcast. And so I have full confidence and faith that they'll build the right team and the right roster, and this team will get right back to winning as we get ready to start 2027's baseball season.
One more thing I want to ask you, JB, before we'll take off here, but I spoke with Dr. Paul last week, and one of the topics we talked about was potentially adding on, potentially, renovating the Pete, after this Reed Green Coliseum stuff is finished. And he said there's a plan in place, that they're close to revealing that plan, but it's going to take probably, around $25 million to do what they're hoping to do. So with that in mind, I mean, it sounds like they already got a plan in place, but like if you had to make one add-on or one renovation, however you want to word it, to the Pete, what would you do?
Ooh, just like selfishly, or I've seen some of the renovation plans, drawings. So you're asking me
well, just to give you an example. So like on my end, like selfishly, I would like even if they don't add like more physical seats or places to put chairs and stuff, I would like them to do like how we see in Montgomery or some of these other locations, to where you can actually walk around the ballpark. Like you can go all around and you can like stand in the outfield and stuff like that. That's what I would like to see.
I've often thought, I think it would be like super cool to have like seats where the bullpen club seats are right now, like cover that area and have seats on top of that, kind of like at an angle looking at Pete Taylor Park, like on top of the hitting complex and all in that kind of area, like down that line. I think those would be some really cool seats, man. You get a lot of foul balls, number one, like they'd get a lot of souvenirs because a lot of balls are hit that way. And then I think you would have like such this cool angle to the park, to where the roost is out beyond you, the 16-ounce lounge is essentially in front of you, and then the field is right there and directly in front of you. And I don't know. I just think that would be kind of cool to like begin to encompass down that left field line some seating, sort of elevated seating too at that. And then of course you'd have these really cool moments where a ball's hit and you're kind of elevated up, where a ball's hit in the air and you're almost like eye level with the ball as it's leaving the park, right? And so I think that's something, selfishly, that I hope we see one day down the line. And I really don't recall any of the renderings or drawings that I've seen, if there's anything like that in there. And so, I'm super excited. There's all kinds of little cool things that I think would be really neat. The big thing now in these stadiums is to have like ground level seating. So like, could they make it to where somebody could go underneath the bleachers and have like a lounge area where they're down and be like almost like eye level to home plate, if you will? Like that's kind of one of those new features in these major league stadiums. And it's really cool. It's kind of neat to be, subgrade, if you will, subground level, and have your head just above the playing surface and looking out from that way. So yeah, man, I look forward to it. I trust this administration. I know that they know what's best. I know there's certainly some renderings and renovations type stuff that's on its way, and I can't wait. Can't wait when it's all revealed, because I'm as excited as everyone else. I've not seen any kind of final drawings or anything like that, so looking forward to it.
Well, just like I said, just selfishly, I would love it if they just could make it to where, people can make a circle, walk all the way around the park.
Yeah.
I have a track. I'm not saying they should base the decision off of something I've done. I'm just saying I have a track record.
That's right.
At Round Rock, at Montgomery. If things are going bad, I can relocate, walk around.
That's right. That's right.
Find the right spot. So,
that's right.
We'll see how all that goes. Well, Jason, I appreciate you joining me as always. Obviously, the season didn't end how we wanted it to, but still a lot of good things for this Golden Eagles team to kind of hang their hat on and keep their head held high. And I think the future is going to continue to be bright as long as, Coach Oz and his staff keep doing what they've been doing. And, like you said, that was set before them, and they've taken it and they've enhanced it. And I think good things are on the way. But, JB, I appreciate you joining me, man.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dalton, for having me.
Guys, that's going to do it for another episode of Nasty Bunch and Beyond. Appreciate y'all coming in and listening every single week. Be sure to go like, rate, and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms. And we'll see you next week. Y'all have a good one.